Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Barbara Oakley's A Mind for Numbers. Are you good with numbers? The author of A Mind for Numbers reveals how to excel in both math and science classes. Understanding these things doesn't have to be a terrible experience for anyone. There is hope for those who believe they have no aptitude for math or science. We are given simple, practical, and efficient strategies that researchers know about learning, and we are shown how to have fun in the process. Professor Barbara Oakley claims that math and science are not exceptional. These things are accessible to everyone, but not everyone knows how to learn about them. Barbara Oakley is an enthusiastic professor of mechanical engineering. Math and physics, on the other hand, were not always her strong suits. Oakley enlisted in the military after failing algebra and physics in high school. She had the opportunity to work with West Point engineers during this period and became fascinated by their innovative approaches to problem resolution. She saw that they had a mind for numbers and wanted to know more about how they dealt with complex issues. Despite her lack of confidence in her mathematical abilities, Oakley had a thirst for knowledge and an eagerness to discover new things. She had a particular fondness for picking up foreign tongues. Oakley, despite the fact that mathematics and physics appeared like hieroglyphics to her, decided to pursue a career in engineering, despite the difficulty of the road. As a result, she believes her college years could have been a more pleasant transition into the workforce had she known more about how to study at the time. Intrigued by the process by which we acquire knowledge, she sought out world-renowned professors and questioned them about their own methods of learning and the lessons they could impart to others. Through her research in neurology and cognitive psychology, she discovered the most important aspects of efficient learning. On the subject of learning and how to learn in her book, A Mind for Numbers, Oakley takes readers on a journey into how our brain processes information and how we may maximize this processing power to release our cognitive potential, and master just about everything, not just calculus or physics. The activities in this book are geared towards students who already have a mind for numbers and are looking to improve their enjoyment, originality, and grace when solving equations. Know of your level of experience if you want to improve your capacity to learn, retain, and recall difficult material. This is the book for you. Let's take a quick look at how our brains work when it comes to memory and learning. After that, we'll look at some actionable suggestions for avoiding procrastination, maintaining concentration, and enhancing our recall of even the most complex knowledge. So let's begin by looking at the two modes of thinking that exist in our brains. Think of a flashlight with two levels of brightness. When using a flashlight, we have the option of zooming in and narrowing the beam of light to a smaller area, or zooming out and casting a wider beam. Our brains are all wired in the same way. A narrow beam of light represents the diffuse mode, whereas a large beam represents the focus mode. The focus mode is characterized by intense concentration. Solving problems necessitates the use of logical, sequential, and analytical reasoning. Relaxed focus is the result of a diffuse mode. Consider a wide range of topics while your mind wanders. It's like daydreaming, in which we don't focus on any one item at a time and drift off. When we're in focus mode, we're operating in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is a little area in front of the brain. While in diffuse mode, many brain regions are illuminated. We need both analytical and creative thinking in order to learn, thus the concentrate mode helps us get to grips with the problem and unpack the specifics, while the diffuse mode offers us the broad picture view. When we're attempting to learn anything, we need to direct our attention and then let it stray. We are in concentrated mode when trying to discover a solution to an issue that is occupying our attention. This style of thought is essential for effective learning. As an illustration, our brains are in concentrated mode since we already know how to solve a certain problem. As you practice multiplying numbers, it makes rapid and comparable efforts at solving the problem, assuming you already know how to multiply. Diffuse mode, on the other hand, is used when we get stopped or encounter an issue we've never encountered in the past. Diffuse thinking is characterized by the ability of the brain to leap from one idea or concept to the next, connecting previously learned information with the new. Here's an example to illustrate the difference between the two modes of thinking. Take a look at the following line and see if you can detect the 3 mistakes in the spelling of this. If you utilize a focused mode approach, you may be able to identify the first 2 spelling problems. However, you may still be curious about the third blunder. Thirdly, there is no third error in the statement because there is no such error. Diffuse mode helps us see this out-of-the-box thinking, But if we stay in concentrated mode for too long, like when we get stuck on a math issue, it becomes more harmful than beneficial. We lose our ability to think beyond the box if we spend too much time focusing on a single topic. Focused and dispersed thinking both have their uses. When learning, we need to flip between the two modes of cognition in order to acquire the best of both worlds. We begin by focusing our attention on the fundamentals of a subject without any distractions. Passively integrating new information into our existing knowledge is accomplished through the diffuse mode. After that, we return to concentrated mode and eliminate all except the most useful links from our list. To efficiently move between the two modes of thinking, how do we do so? Oakley advocates utilizing the Pomodoro technique in order to get into a focused state. Set a timer for 25 minutes, and don't allow yourself to be distracted. There is no shame in taking a break once the time limit has passed, or if you've gone on past that period and struck a wall of bewilderment and irritation. When you return from your vacation, you may be shocked to find that the answer is right in front of your eyes. Oakley has found the Pomodoro approach to be one of the most effective ways to learn any subject. In terms of diffuse mode, it is critical that we get enough sleep and relaxation in order to re-energize our minds. You'll be relieved to know that if you fell asleep in math and science class, it may have been your brain's way of digesting knowledge. Getting enough sleep is critical to maintaining good mental and physical health, as well as enhancing memory and learning capacity. When we sleep, our brains flush out the toxins that build up during the course of the day. According to Oakley, if we read anything before going to bed, our chances of dreaming about it are increased, which can help us better understand the subject. The good news is that even a brief snooze might be beneficial. When Thomas Edison was unable to find a solution to a difficult problem, he would sit on his chair and hold two ball bearings in his other hand while trying to find another solution. Ball bearings would fall from his fingers and onto the floor as soon as he was about to fall asleep, startling him awake. His return to work was consequently sparked by this. To remedy the problem, he typically had one of those light bulb moments as soon as he was back at work. Some of you may be wondering how little pause might stimulate a new idea. The diffuse mode, according to Oakley, may not make us feel as though we're working as hard as we do while we're resting. A wide variety of brain regions are opened up to the ideas we receive in focus mode when we move to diffuse mode. This is not possible in focused mode. Comparing new ideas with prior knowledge is easier when we have time to think about it. When we learn in diffuse mode, we go to the root of things and get creative. We require times of concentrated thinking and then intervals of non-conscious thinking in order to confront complicated intellectual challenges and learn new concepts. In the next sections, we'll discuss ways to avoid procrastination, keep our attention, and improve our memory. Procrastination may be prevented. Ever sat down to work, checked Facebook, and then ended up 3 hours later in a YouTube rabbit hole? Procrastination is like an addiction. We've all experienced it at some point. Due to our apprehension of difficulties or fear of failing, we find various ways to escape the discomfort of starting and prevent the pain of starting. Then again, Oakley points out an essential point. According to recent MRI findings, our brain's pain receptors flare up when we anticipate something. A physiological pain reaction in our bodies is neutralized just by thinking about studying for a test that we may be afraid of. Interestingly, the discomfort goes away when we simply do the thing we're trying to avoid. This demonstrates that the expectation, not the actual contact, is the unpleasant part. Changing our mindset is one way to get started. Instead than focusing on the result, consider the method. Focus on just 20 minutes of work instead of getting your homework project finished, which is the result. Rather than focusing on the final outcome, concentrate on the process of working hard. In doing so, we are able to feel more in control of our own lives and less prone to self-criticism. It is possible to break the habit of procrastination by creating new, productive behaviors. Habit development can be broken down into 4 parts, all of which Oakley examines. The cue is the first thing you need to know. We must identify the triggers that set us off on our procrastinating path. The decision to check Facebook, for example, will not be made swiftly. All of us can see where this is going. Turn off all social media notifications for a specified length of time to counteract this. There is also a routine, which is a crucial part of the process. Creating rituals can assist us in establishing better dietary and exercise habits. Whether we're studying, we may find ourselves reaching for our phones every few minutes. Leaving our phones unplugged and in another room while we study is an example of a ritual. In our daily routines, rituals might serve as reliable habits. Finally, there's the payoff. Neurological desires are the result of habits. To change our habits, our brains must be rewired so that we can anticipate the reward. Perhaps a lunch date with a friend can motivate us to finish the chores we've set for ourselves. The belief is the final component of habit formation. The most important component of changing our procrastination habits is the idea that we can do it. We must believe that we are capable of accomplishing our goals. When the going gets difficult, we may revert back to our old ways of doing things. Mental contrasting, as described by Oakley, is a powerful strategy. Mental contrasting is the process of comparing our current situation to our ideal situation. We can better maintain our new, healthier habits if we have a positive outlook for the future. The more proficient we become at anything, the more we'll love it and the less likely we are to put it off till tomorrow. It's one thing to be able to overcome procrastination. As soon as we get started, it's critical to take in and retain the information that we're learning. How to improve your memory. Oakley is a firm believer in the power of motivational memorizing techniques. Let's experiment with imaginative methods to help us remember what we've learned. Spaced repetition is a memory trick that may be effective. Spaced repetition is just leaving some time before going through information again. We can use spaced repetition by generating flashcards of the material we need to remember, and then going over them again a few days later. In time, we will be able to increase the duration between flashcard review sessions as the data is assimilated into our long-term memory. These aid in the retention of information. Oakley argues that for something to be stored in our long-term memory, we need to make it memorable and repeat it several times. This is where we may unleash our inner artist. Making content meaningful is essential if we want it to stick in people's minds. In order to assist us retain a notion, it is helpful to use metaphors or visual analogies. They connect to existing neuronal structures that already exist, Oakley explains. Oakley recommends that we utilize relevant acronyms and abbreviations in order to simplify and chunk what we're seeking to learn. Using memorable phrases or relating material to a specific event are two examples. If you want to remember the sequence of the planets in relation to the sun, you may use the example of my very excellent mother just served us 9 pizzas. The usage of stories is also beneficial. We can better retain information if we use a personal tale to connect it to the material we're learning. Furthermore, the more absurd the story, the better. Finally, get a piece of paper and a pen. Oakley emphasizes the importance of handwriting notes in the retention of information. We may also discover that writing helps us synthesize knowledge more concisely than simply typing it down verbatim. As she notes in her paper, handwriting appears to help us more profoundly encode, or convert, what we are trying to learn into brain structures. It appears that reading aloud improves recall as well. The next stage is to learn how to do well on examinations, which we can do now that we have some pointers on how to strengthen our memory. To be certain of success, put the plan to the test. Even the act of taking a test can be a valuable teaching tool. In comparison to studying for an hour, we retain and learn considerably more information during a 1-hour test. Tests, according to Oakley, are a great method to keep our brains focused and focused. The most easy questions are often the first to be tackled on an exam. However, this may actually be counterproductive. Oakley discusses why it's important to begin with the most difficult question. Once we've put the toughest question into our heads, we may divert our focus away from it, allowing the diffuse mode to kick in. Allows for simultaneous processing of distinct thoughts in different areas of the brain using this hard start jump to easy approach. The most important thing we can do to combat test anxiety is to alter our perspective on tests and exams in general. It is possible to increase our performance by adjusting our mindset from "I am so scared about this test" to "I am so enthusiastic about this test, and I am going to try my best," Oakley explains. Breathing is a crucial piece of advice for test takers who are nervous. Focusing on deep breathing communicates that everything is fine, allowing us to de-stress and improve our cognitive function. Ending with a high note. Oakley believes that our brains are capable of incredible things, but that they don't come with a manual to help us learn how to use them. When it comes to unlocking our cognitive capacity, a mind for numbers serves as an instruction manual. It's possible for us to learn how to stay focused, take pauses, and develop better, healthier habits that will allow us to study everything we put our minds to. Rather of focusing on what we learn, some focuses on how we learn. We may also learn anything by learning how to learn. So, what are you hoping to accomplish with the development of your mind? Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.